Perry Watson, the fourth president of NAMAD, to the CDG podcast. Perry, welcome.
Thank you, man. Thank you for having me. It's quite a pleasure, and I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you guys today.
Perry, the first thought I have in mind that I feel like you'll have a lot of access to this information is, are you still seeing dealers go from, or I would say aspiring dealers go from zero to ownership nowadays across the country, specifically, of course, in the U.S.?
Yeah, well, Yossi, let me just tell you, we are, in a big way, the spirit of entrepreneurship amongst dealer candidates is alive and kicking. The reality is, I think there's a place for everyone in the industry. You know, the larger automotive groups, they bring certain benefits to the automotive industry, but also those dealers that you still bump into at the grocery store, right? That you know, that are at the Little League games, they are the heartbeat of the automotive industry. And so from an OEM perspective, the consolidation is good from a capital perspective, right? Those larger groups normally don't blink at doing a new facility and all of that good stuff. However, when they start to control several stores of an OEM, it's a little different, right? There's leveraging there in terms of what they will and won't do and all of those things. When it's an individual dealer, it's truly a partnership. And so we're seeing many first generation dealers still pursue the opportunity to become dealer owners. And across the industry. And I will say, we can get into this a little bit later, but we have launched the NAMAD Dealer Ownership Academy. So we're training up the next generation of individual dealer owners and being very successful at doing that. So we can talk a little bit more about that later, but we're getting ready to launch class 3 of that Dealer Ownership Academy. So.
Well, I do want to talk more about that, but tell me, Perry, what's your, I know we were sort of joking before we started recording how we both came from like cold cities and shoveling snow, scraping, you know, ice and whatever from cars. And I was just telling you, I mean, that was a big part of my childhood, was actually going in the middle of the night with my dad. And, you know, he was plowing, I'd get out of the plow, kind of help him, I don't know, move some shit around, come back to some plow. So that was, and that was some good memories. So definitely feel you on that. But tell me, like, you know, stuff like that is what paths are you seeing today when it comes to ownership? Is this, because what I'm seeing is that there's a lot of operating partners, right? It's gotten so expensive to purchase a dealership, let alone an open point, which you can barely find. Maybe you know better than I when it comes to that, but you know, you want to get into a dealership, you get an operating partner, they put up the capital, you know, you put up the sweat equity in many cases. Some people go the private equity route. What are you seeing from your perspective in terms of that entryway to ownership?
Well, you'll see, we're seeing a lot of different models. You know, some of them, like you said, are, you know, partnering with larger capital partners for meaningful participation. Some of them have saved up a significant amount of money and are using some of the dealer programs that are open to everyone. But our members definitely, you know, take advantage of those if that is an option that they, you know, so choose to do. And then we're also seeing, like you said, you know, Wall Street money, private, all of these different support mechanisms coming into play. And so I think it just depends on what your situation is as a dealer candidate. But there's no straight path to ownership anymore. It is a high price of poker. However, you know, we are still seeing dealers that are gaining points with their own, you know, capital as well. So it just depends on what your situation is.
When you're advocating with OEMs, like, what are they looking for, right? What does that process look like? You know, how are you showing them, hey, you should do this for this reason, or like, what does that process look like? Like, give us a little behind the scenes.
So the first thing we have to understand, Yossi, is there is a business case to the NAMAD business model, and that is inclusive economics. What do I mean by that? 2023 is notated, I believe it was by S&P Global Mobility, that did the data and found that 33% of all new vehicles were purchased by minority consumers. So these emerging markets, I mean, as you know, there's a fight for market share across the country. And with the uptick of Chinese automakers in Europe, in Australia, it's driving. Yeah, man. I mean, we can get into it, right? It's driving a retraction back into the U.S. market. So the business case for the OEMs is, hey, you go into these markets and you want dealers that perform at a high level, right? They sell cars, they service cars, they move parts, they deliver great customer satisfaction. But our dealers and our members, we have a special ingredient, and that is we don't just get into the general population to sell those cars. We get into the nooks and crannies of these emerging markets, a lot of them minority markets. And we draw from, not just our primary market area. There's one OEM that took an opportunity to put one of our members in a deal, doubled the sales volume within 2 years. And a lot of that was because of the engagement, not only at the softball and the baseball games for the local municipalities, but it was also tapping into those other communities and having ownership, right? Because when we walk in as minority consumers and we see people that are reflected in our staff, but especially at an ownership level, the level of engagement and the level of loyalty, brand loyalty, is at a whole different level. And we see that in our actual numbers in terms of our throughput with those emerging market consumers. So we really focus on the business case with the OEMs, and they're seeing it in their numbers. Their brands right now, where over 40% of their new vehicle sales, both luxury and non-luxury, are coming from minority consumers. And a big part of that has to do with their dealer network.
I mean, I think it's smart, right? You're going at it from, you're not coming from like a touchy-feely angle. You're coming very objectively. Like, this is, here's the business case. Here's why this makes sense for the brand. And you're also going right up to the OEM, who is, can set up programs, distributes points, approves potential dealers.
Absolutely. You never go wrong with the business case because you can't legislate people's hearts, right? You and I may have the same belief in terms of, what makes sense in terms of the humanitarian piece of this thing. But ultimately, if you stick and focus to moving business, it's a language that we all can understand.
Talk to me about the biggest barriers to access. I want to say, if I'm not mistaken, that I had noted here floor plan. I've personally done many floor plans in my life. And I would say that the biggest floor plan that I committed to, which I was maybe 25 at the time, I had to personal guarantee my life away. I don't recommend you do that. I'm just saying what I did at the time, because I said, I need this access no matter what. I had zero leverage at the time. And it was thankfully, it didn't end up in a disaster, but it could have. So long story short, and I know that most floor plans do require PGs, but again, there's different risk profiles. Assuming that is a really big hurdle, typically within ownership, what are you able to do about that? How are you able to kind of help that or support that?
So here's the beautiful thing about the NAMAD conference, which I know we're going to talk about a little bit later. We have an annual conference, and at that annual conference, dealers and potential dealers have the opportunity to meet with the OEMs, so the manufacturers who are distributing points, brokers who are doing buy sales, as well as the banks. So oftentimes the magic happens at the conference for our members, and a lot of collaboration happens at the conference. And so we tackle it by making sure that NAMAD is at the center of the connection point for all of our members. And, ultimately, it has to pencil, right? It doesn't matter whether it's the deal,
of course,
whether it's the banking, no matter what it is, even with our operational partners, the software has to make sense. And so if that is the case, oftentimes because of the relationship with NAMAD, there is a likelihood to engage. And we see a lot of success in regards to capital attainment, as well as you mentioned, floor plan and credit lines. But a big part of it is our members come prepared, right? Hey, here's what I'm doing. Here's the volume that I'm moving. Here's what I need. Oftentimes those conversations go on for, a few weeks or months after the conference. But I'm happy to report that a lot of great business is done as a result of those relationships that happen or start at the conference.
This episode is brought to you by Podium. If you're like most dealers, you've probably tried some version of AI by now. The real question, is it actually doing the work or just answering with generic messages? In our CDG Circles groups, I keep seeing Podium come up when dealers are talking about vendors. And it's not hype. It's because they're meeting the needs of dealers right now. 1 in 3 dealerships is already using Podium, and thousands of their customizable AI agents are actively running sales and service workflows every day. What makes them different is they're not just another AI add-on. They consolidate sales, service, messaging, and especially voice into one customizable platform so you're not stacking a bunch of disconnected systems. And let's be real, the phone is still where a lot of money is won or lost. Podium's voice AI books appointments, routes calls correctly, and escalates when it should based on your dealership's playbooks. If your AI isn't driving real outcomes, it might be worth a look. Check out podium.com/CDG or click the link in the show notes below. We will be there supporting it, of course. So we're pumped for that. It's actually now, I'm excited to say it's in my backyard in a way. I'm not in Miami, but I'm close enough.
Yeah,
so we're close to you.
Well, Yossi, before you go any further, you do know there's a karaoke requirement at the conference. You got to sing a Duran Duran song.
You guys are going to close shop, my friend.
Hey,
if I sing.
I don't want. Hey, no excuses, man. I'll go up there with you, baby. But we'll see. We're going to see.
All right. I like it. Perry, when you go to sleep at night, you wake up, like, what is your definition of success? Like, if you look back in 3-5 years, what are the KPIs you're looking for to impact in our industry?
So, Yossi, I'm really focused on 5 things. Okay. And these are my North Stars, not just mine, but the organization's. One is retention, right? Retention of our current dealer body. We really encourage our dealers, hey, if you're going to sell, look here at this dealer body first. Also retention of relationships. We work very hard at relationships with our OEM partners, with our banking partners, with our operational excellence partners. We take it very serious. We view it as an extension of the NAMAD family. So retention, expansion. The goal is eventually to come up with a number of capital models that can help individuals get into business, right? Third is training. We want to make sure that we're adding value for all of our members. That's why we launched the NAMAD Dealer Ownership Academy. We also have a next gen portion of our membership to help dealer candidates, sons and daughters of dealers, really get ready for that next level of ownership. Advocacy, as you and I talked about, like legislative and regulatory work, making sure we're representing for our dealers and helping them protect their business. And then the last is awareness, which is why I'm here today, is to make sure that people know about our organization and what we have to offer. Strangely enough, there are a number of individuals that I bump into, even though NAMAD has been around since 1980, that haven't heard of us. And so we just want to get the word out to everyone to let them know, hey, we'd love to have you as part of the family. And keep in mind, too, the name is National Association of Minority Automobile Dealers, but we have everybody at our conference and everybody is a part of our family. It's not just a minority conference. It's focused on making sure that minorities have the opportunity to make those connections. But, we expand across all race, gender, all of those things when it comes to the NAMAD family, because we believe in coming together for strategic growth, and strategic alignment is the only way to do that.
How do you make that a positive sum experience where you can expand the pie? Like actually tactically, is this by a way of, opening up additional points, of creating operating partners, engagements? Like, what is the best framework because of course anything positive sum will always, yield just better results than something that's zero sum, right? Zero sum is I'm taking from you and I'm getting myself. Positive sum is we're growing the pie together. 1 + 1 = 3. So how do you achieve that from your position?
It's a delicate balance, right? Because these are entrepreneurs. And, I mean, one of the dealers that was on the stage with me last year, the guy had been a dealer for 20 plus years. He'd earned the right to have a payday. And when he's looking to sell, he's going to get his payout. But fortunately, he did what we asked, those dealers to do. Looked at the name ad dealer body, and he was actually able to sell his dealership to a gentleman who at one point worked at his dealership who had become a dealer. So we really try to highlight those stories. But if one of our members sells to, outside of the name ad family, we understand. And so some of those points do go away from the name ad dealer body. But what we try to do is make sure that whether it's an open point or a buy sell, that our members are in position to compete for those opportunities. And we're having pretty good success. We've got a lot of work to do on the capital side, but ultimately the goal is growth. And fortunately, over the last several years, we have seen growth since, we lost ground like everybody did in 2008 in the Great Recession, and a little bit during COVID. But we have expanded. And the good news is those dealers are the report out is for some of the OEMs that are most loyal when it comes to the captive finance arms, doing very well in terms of sales volume, customer satisfaction, utilizing different models like one price, one person, 1 hour. There's so many success stories, man. But ultimately, you have to just continue to prepare the bench and make sure that when the opportunity comes up that they can get out there and compete on the floor for the starting spot.
Perry, how do you create more Erica Tiffany's? Erica was on our podcast, and it was, incredibly insightful episode. She spoke about her journey, how she operates, how she manages. She's come a long way. And so how do you create more Erica Tiffany's? Like, what is the playbook for that? What's the formula?
So what's funny is Erica is involved in the Name Ad Dealer Ownership Academy. So what you do is, I believe you add fuel.
So that was a layup. By the way, that was not premeditated. I didn't know that.
No, man, I love it. I love it because you know what? Good. The way we do it, Yossi, is we add fuel to the fire. You take someone who's a high performer like Erica and you say, hey, you know what? Let's expose you to fixed operations. Let's expose you in detail to the parts department. Let's expose you to cash management and cash forecasting. Let's connect you with some potential capital partners. Hey, let's help you get some regional contacts with OEMs that you may be interested in. And then one day she comes to the conference and she's a dealer. And I know that's going to happen soon. She's a rock star, of course. And we have, several that are, maybe not shine as bright as an Erica, but, that are on that journey as well. And so we are really just trying to position NAMAD as to add more fuel to these individuals that are already significantly talented in our industry.
That's well said. Do you think that expanding access to dealership ownership, we know this is a massive wealth builder in the country. It's an opportunity builder. Do you think it's more of a education issue, an access issue, split equally? Like if we were able to expand just like stellar education across different regions, would that impact dealership ownership? Like, where are you? We're talking about the now and the urgent is let's expand access. Great. But what about like root cause, right? How can we kind of, expand that? And is it more of like an access or education or all of the above? What's your take on that?
Man, well, listen, I'm like yourself, right? I'm a operations guy at heart. And I can tell you there is a difference between working in the business and working on the business. Oftentimes, I had to go and chase the education. I had to spend time out of the store, bring back ideas that intellectually challenge, our status quo. And so to me, that education is massively important. And that's why I think, organizations like NAMAD are important, because we bring together, the NAA Dealer Academy. We bring together the NCM General Manager training partners. All of us are working for the same goal, and that's to make sure that we prepare the next generation of dealers. And so if you're educated on business, that always helps, right? If you know how to read a financial statement prior to becoming an auto dealer, that obviously helps. Mm-hmm. But I also think that, in this industry, continuous learning is a must, because, just look at AI. We weren't even talking about AI 5 years ago, right? Not to the level that we are now. No, so I think business owners in general and dealers specifically have to be dedicated to what I call an automotive PhD. And that means that it never ends. And so I'm a big proponent of education, and that's why training is one of the North Stars for our organization. We have the real tough discussions about, for instance, this FTC pricing, right? With all of the activity that's going on. What does that mean for you as a dealer? How do you attack that? Whether it's EVs, how do you balance making the investment versus, the current demand of the customer? So you got to have a place that rallies around the right education. And we're not the only ones that do that, but we are one of the organizations that I believe do it and do it very well.
And similarly, like when I think about my prior business, right? It was a venture capital backed business. I never even heard the term venture capital till like my mid-20s. And guess how I heard about it? I was around the right people that knew about that. Like my dad didn't teach me that. My dad taught me a lot, not that. Oh. And that ended up taking me to a different sphere. And eventually I got here. So I think the point I was trying to make is like that education, of course, the peer group around it. Oh, yes. It's immense. The network that you build when you're around the right people in the right networks.
So I've been involved with NAMAD for a very long time. I'm a former secretary, vice president, and president of the NAMAD Next Gen organization, which is a part of the overall NAMAD organization. Next Gen served for me what you're speaking of in terms of a peer group that challenged, my connections, that gave me exposure to be in the room when these important conversations were happening. And so if you are in the business and you are maybe, a manager, a sales manager, or you're a BDC manager, or you're a service director, or, service advisor, that next gen opportunity is great, because whether it's virtual or in person, it creates those opportunities, like you said, to be exposed to what some other people are doing and the expertise that comes in the room at these functions.
This episode is brought to you by OpenLane, who are once again cranking up the volume on summer sales with the return of their popular summer sales event, Dealer Fest. For the entire month of July, the more you transact on OpenLane, the more opportunities to unlock incredible prizes. From now until July 31st, you'll earn points for every vehicle you buy, sell, and transport through OpenLane. The more points you earn, the bigger prizes you can win. New dealers who sign up receive up to $2,500 in fee credits. Learn more and sign up right now at openlane.com/dealerfest or click the link in the show notes below. Very powerful. And shameless plug, we have our own version of that here at Car Dealership Guy called CDG Circles. It's our own digital peer group, like a 20 group for 10 minutes per day, cdgcircles.com. That was a quick one, right? Okay. Excellent. Like that, right? Perry, so you mentioned that you're falling short on brand awareness, or not falling short, but you could do more to get the name out there, right? You mentioned that one dealer that doesn't know about you. You've been around since 1980. NAMAD has. Where else do you feel like you're not quite there? Like where is there a big gap in progress? Like what initiative specifically? I'm curious, like what are the, we spoke about a lot of the amazing, this is working, but like what's a challenge that you're trying to solve right now? Who knows, maybe you'll speak it into existence and someone will hear and they can support. I don't even know.
No, absolutely. So I will tell you, you mentioned it earlier, these deals in the blue sky are getting They're getting up there, Yossi. And so I internally, right, we have a goal of the NAMAD Capital Path Initiative, which we've already started on. And it's about being able to bring parties together to have different capital paths for dealer candidates. You know, I want to make sure we have the capability for, you know, someone who may not have all of the funds to plug into a capital structure to get into a deal and earn either, meaningful participation or 51% plus, right? Also, how do we plug into some of these other capital operating options with our membership to help them expand their footprint even for existing dealers? So we're really working hard on that. I like to say we have finished 1.0. I'm looking forward between 26 and 27 to come back with 2.0. And hopefully we can be super assertive on that and maybe next year at the conference, you know, be able to make some major announcements. But even this year, you know, there are, for example, some private groups that will be talking to individuals about opportunities for ownership and what that might look like with them. So when we get to the point where we have that formalized and we have options, I think that's when we'll be super dangerous in terms of really being able to help these great dealers get to the next level of ownership.
Perry, NAMAD is not actually taking any ownership in dealerships, right?
No, we are not taking ownership in dealerships. We're simply here as a connector and a supporter. You know, at the end of the day, our job as a nonprofit, right, is to make sure that we are servicing our members, and that's what we do.
Yeah, has it ever crossed your mind or the organization to like launch a fund that can help, you know, seed and partner up with operators? It feels like, I don't want to call it a no-brainer because not everything has, you know, the devil's in the details, but has that ever crossed your mind to like launch that type of fund that can like seed fund, you know, potential operators on like deals that are sub 10 million blue sky or whatever you want to call it?
Yeah. Listen, are you looking at my notes? What are you doing? Okay, you giving away.
I mean, listen, I'm just thinking big. Like, I'm just saying, like, dude, you could literally launch a fund and seed a ton of people to give them a launch pad.
Listen, let it be known that Yossi just gave away the secret sauce on the Big Mac. Yes, Yossi, we're working on that. And, you know, what we really want to do is make sure we vet it out. And you know, that means having some, you know, memorandums of understanding and a lot of different things, right? But if I were to hint around it, you are very hot in terms of where we want to go. We believe that that's where we should be. And so, you know, we have our current chairman, Ray Freejay Jr., you know, definitely believes in that. And our incoming chair, Robert Valdez, also believes that. And so we're going to stay the course with that. And hopefully I can come back on and we can talk about what we have accomplished versus the aspiration. But you are 100% hot on
Amazing. And it's top of mind for me because, you know, we just launched our own fund, which is investing in auto tech. Very selectively. We've been doing this for years, to be clear, but we just simply said, hey, on select deals, we can bring it to our wider audience and let them participate in the upside of these companies where they're anyways helping create the value by being a customer, right? Many tech vendors and stuff like that. So, you know, it crossed my mind. It's like, hey, there's a need for capital. You could do a fund. So Perry, what didn't I ask you? I mean, of course, we spoke about the NAMAD conference. I have it here is in Miami Beach at the Fontainebleau Hotel, August 11th to the 14th.
August 11th to the 14th. It's a real big shameless plug. You know,
Please.
What's the why in terms of why you should come to the conference? And that is, we're the only conference that I know of, that many of the industry professionals know of, where we really focus in on inclusive economics. If you're a dealer candidate and you're interested in being a dealer one day, you get a chance to interface with automotive executives about those opportunities. We've got Richard Montanez, who's going to be there as a keynote speaker for our luncheon. I don't know if you've heard this guy's story, but he's worked his way from a janitor up to VP of Frito-Lay PepsiCo, and created Flaming Hot Cheetos, which absolutely is the benchmark for business in terms of inclusive economic. He really took a cultural experience in the Hispanic community and made it an icon of a business product.
Montanez. Wow.
Yeah, and then also we're going to be honoring some titans within the industry in terms of automotive professionals. So many great things. We're going to be talking about AI, China, FTC, all this good stuff. So you can go to namad.org and you can find out a lot more about the conference and register. We are in Miami at the Fontainebleau Hotel. As we were talking about before, you will have a little time to be on the beach, shameless plug. But, so we would love to have you. We're always looking for new faces and new partners. Last year, we had our biggest attendance of new participants in the conference. Wow. So come one, come all. We'd love to have you.
Amazing work. Perry Watson, the fourth president of NAMAD. Perry, thanks so much for coming on the podcast. This was great. Thanks so much.
Hey, man. Thank you. You get ready with those Duran Duran songs. Hungry Like a Wolf.
Baby. Don't test
Get ready.
All right. Hope you enjoyed that episode. Please give the podcast a rating, consider subscribing to the show, and check the show notes for links to the sponsors of today's episode, Podium and Open Lane. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time.